Well, just continuing on the theme of exit, I've been through a few myself, but I'm hoping some of you are not, or all of you are not going to exit the room at least. There's still a couple of sessions to go. And if there's one thing about an exit, sometimes it means sitting it through to the end to be able to achieve it. So hopefully you guys will do some of that as well. Very briefly, I'm not going to talk too much about Moovly, but I'm going to talk about video, and the two are inextricably linked. A little bit about myself. I decided instead of giving you a boring set of text, I'll just throw you through pictures. These are some of the companies or educational institutions or others that I've been involved with. Probably the most important thing that people remember about me is I've been to both poles, and I've also done military service in a submarine. And when I say both poles, I mean 14 months at the South Pole. But anyway, you might recognize some of those logos. If you do, great. If not, I clearly have work to do. The title of the topic is Fad or Trend. And I'm actually not even going to get into that because in my opinion it's a trend, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to argue for that case as opposed to arguing both cases. There's enough statistics out there which you can Google or buy that'll tell you, how video is growing. And the reason why I'm going to argue that it's a trend is twofold. One, if I give you this piece of text, I tell you to read it and tell me, yeah, that's the definition of a square. And if I do that, well, you get it a lot quicker. And that's just simply because of, why is video successful? Why is it a growing trend? Why does it work? And that's simply because we're human, and the way that our brains work. More than generations ago, if something moved quickly or made a sudden noise and you didn't react, you were lunch. So it's part of it's part of the way our brains work. Now, if you just take a couple of statistics, the brain processes visual information much, much faster than text. It also, when combined with sound, has a multiplying effect. The other thing which I will say is that in the sense of when you're using video, you're essentially storytelling. And storytelling is a way which our brains not only absorb, but retain information far better than an image. And they say, image is worth 1,000 words. Well, video is worth, some orders of magnitude more than that, specifically if it's associated with a storytelling. And I think the marketeers out there will tell you that ultimately the most successful campaigns tell a story, or the most successful way of you to get your story heard, to promote your product, to explain something, is to associate it with a story and tell the story throughout. It works. That's the other reason why. And here are a couple of statistics which will be of interest, certainly to the marketeers. And the most important thing is, by the way, I'm experimenting with this format because normally I would make a presentation only in Moovly, but because of the requirement of PowerPoint, I sort of cut my video into segments, so you're going to get this in video clips as opposed to a full Moovly presentation. But the bottom line is, the reason it works is because of the way our brains work, but the response or the statistics are extraordinarily high. We're doing a lot of experiments ourselves. We've got a number of different clients, which range from blue chip clients, the Fortune 500, all the way to mom and pop and Soho, individual consultants and freelancers. And the reason why we believe that not only we are successful, but other players in our space are successful, is exactly because everybody wants a video on their website. I mean, that's how we started the company, because we saw more and more companies coming to my co-founder ran a digital agency, and they wanted a video. And when you've got blue chip clients, and they've just spent $1 billion developing a new food supplement for the farming industry, for animal feed, and they have to spend $50,000 on a video to explain on how to mix it and get it to be consumed appropriately, it's in the noise. It's sort of budgeted in. But when you're at the same digital agency and you see small companies that have got $3,000 or $5,000, and you say, sorry, can't help you because we can't switch on the engine for that kind of budget, and you start turning that business more and more away, you say, I have to scale this business somehow, I have to make it more attractive. So everybody's going video. And I think the reason I've explained is that the human nature of the way our brains work means that we automatically react better to this type of medium and format. And as a result, we're seeing the kind of commercial statistics that you're seeing there. So what's the problem? The problem is, and historically has been, twofold. Cost was one. You would go to an agency and that would cost, and typically, and I don't want to knock an agency because they're partners of ours as well, but the traditional method was you go there, you get a video, and with that video, you had three options. You could play it, you could pause it, and you could stop it. But you couldn't edit it, you couldn't translate it, you couldn't update it. And so we said, hang on, that's one way to, first of all, increase the return on investment for that thing. So a lot of the agencies and corporates that we work with, they say, look, keep the knowledge economy part of the value chain, the creativity and everything else, but drive the cost of production to zero or close to zero. Because ultimately, the creativity is where the value is created. But if you want to update or translate or correct it or collaboratively work on it, it's very difficult in using historic software packages. Now, this is supposed to be a three-dimensional graph. Complexity and cost, obviously, on those axes, and the size of the image being the functionality, the feature functionality of those. And I think if you've ever tried to make a really appealing product advertisement or promotion that you wanted to use on YouTube, using PowerPoint, it probably didn't work as well as you might have if you'd used some of the other video or creation tools. Conversely, there's no doubt that the two images on the top there have the most feature-rich functionality out there today, but are relatively complex and costly. Well, I say relatively because if you're a video specialist, you go, well, that's just run-of-the-mill. But if you are a small business owner or an HR person within a corporation, and you want to do something different, then those sorts of tools are quite complex because they're not in the mainstream of your business. And historically, particularly in the days of Flash, which was, yesteryear, it required also some programming skills, which a lot of those sorts of people didn't necessarily need to have other than for this specific application. So there are a lot of people trying to fill that gap. We're not the only company trying to do that. And so the ideal, obviously, is a product which is cost-effective, has a low level of complexity, means easy to learn, easy to use, high UI, UX, but also very, very feature-rich. And that is a real complicated three-dimensional space to try and fill, especially the complexity, feature-richness of your user interface, where is what is, and making it really, really easy to use, at the same time having high power. So just as an example, we think and we state that there's three main barriers to making rich multimedia content. One is cost, the other is complexity, and the third one is actually the creativity in your own mind. Some people are really creative, others are, like me, less creative, or two left hands when it comes to this. And so what we set out was, we said, okay, we can solve these two with technology, but the creativity is something which we can only aid you with a number of things. So we can introduce you to some freelancers and some companies that will help you make it for you, but they'll make it in our tool so that when you get the product, it's yours, you can edit it, you can update it, you can translate it, you can do whatever you want with it, but you've taken advantage of the creative skills of another person, whether it be a freelancer or an agency. The other thing which we did was, we thought, okay, let's make this, we always talk about internally in the company, we're going to democratize the ability to make rich content. And that's our that's our raison d'etre, that's what we march to. And whenever we're trying to pump ourselves up with, then we tell ourselves that we're on on a mission to make this available to everyone. So we decided, okay, cost can't be prohibitive. So we said, first of all, okay, every educational institution, as long as it's a recognized educational institution, it's free. So schools, universities, teachers, staff, knock yourself out, it's free. And then, of course, being a non-profit organization, that would have been fantastic. However, our shareholders had a different mind, and obviously, when you want to exit the company, and our company has the ambition of exiting at some point as well, we have to make some money too. So we said, okay, how do we scale that? So we priced our product $5 a month. We have currently launched a new HTML5 version of our product. It's all in the cloud. And so we said, okay, drive the cost of production down and let everybody create for themselves. And where are we going? So it's great that you have an editor, and there are multiple editors out there, and you can make the content of your choice. The future we see, both from our own vision, but also the demand from our customers, is for semi and fully automated content to be generated. Because there are things which are repetitive. If you're making a YouTube review channel, the branding, the intro, the outro, the branding around what you said or the product you designed, you want to be the same. You want it to be consistent. You don't want it to be different every week necessarily. So why wouldn't you create a template effectively and fill that? Was having a conversation with the guys from Dogbox back there and saying to them, look, think of testimonial gathering. You want to get customers to tell you how, playing with their dog, showing off the product, saying this dog product subscription was the best thing since, I don't know, I got the puppy or the kitten or whatever the case may be. Well, that's useful marketing, but if you just got that from a cell phone, you'd have to import it into an editor, you'd have to design everything around it. Well, we have an app called the Testimonial Gathering app, and guess what it does? It allows you to take a video or a photo, put in your name or whatever the case may be. The difference being is that raw video doesn't just go in to a library which you then have to manipulate yourself. From the app, you can select a template that's been predefined. Now, that could be for Dogbox in general, but they could have a Valentine's or a Halloween theme, in which case, guess what? The thing gets automatically mounted. The video that was taken comes into that template, and our server basically generates that. And again, we're not the only people doing this, so this is not a pitch on us particularly, but we see more and more demand for bots which are effectively pieces of software, and that's where we have an API, an open API, by the way, that allows people to make semi or fully automated content. So if you have a news blog on your website, a news update, maybe for your company or about an industry, well, there's a lot of titles and links, and people have to read those. Well, imagine you had a 60-second news summary in video format of what the news was below. People would watch that video while they're sitting having a cup of tea. It's far less strainful, it's a lot more interesting and entertaining, and when they see the title of the article that they like, they click on it and they get the full text. These are the kinds of things that are coming there, not to mention with the use of intelligent voice, both on the outbound in terms of text-to-speech, but also inbound prompts. You'll see more and more automated news readers and whatever the case may be. And of course, video depends on how far you take video, but augmented reality and virtual reality are effectively just different ways of visualizing video content. So I see with 53 seconds left, I'm going to bow out and thank you all. If you would like to talk or contact me, you have my details.